Hello, welcome to another episode. My name is Nicholas Idoko. I'm a software engineer. I develop web, Android, iOS, obviously mobile apps, and custom applications for clients as well as for myself. Okay, and today I want us to discuss hybrid versus native apps, what I recommend for clients. Right now, usually, when clients reach out to me that they want to develop an Android app or iOS app or an app in general, they don't have an idea of which one is native or which one is hybrid, right? In most cases, they just want to develop an app, right? And from my experience so far, in most cases or most applications being developed here in Nigeria, a hybrid app is way more than enough to get the job done. However, I want to just explain the differences in this video, in this audio series, just in case you want to go out there to shop for a developer and you want to reach out to me, you already have an idea of the two types of apps, right? Now, a native app is an app built specifically for the operating system, either Android or iOS. Okay. So if you are building an app and you want it to, is specific, you are not packaging it in any shape or form, you are building it directly on the Android system, then you use either Java or Kotlin to write the code for that. And if it is for iOS, you are using Swift. Okay. Now, a native app has an advantage over a hybrid app in all aspects. I just want to make that very clear. However, it takes a longer time to get your project out there, your MVP, and it is very expensive. And also, it is the cost. I've said that it is expensive. I've said that, yeah, it takes a longer time, yeah, and the maintenance is also going to be quite difficult. However, you are going to get full access to the operating system and the performance is going to be very high. Now, when it comes to a Cordova application, right, or Apache Cordova or hybrid application, some people use Ionic or Flutter or React Native. The cost is way down, right? It is faster to launch. The performance is not going to match that of a native application, and it does not have full access to the operating system. You would likely need plugins or even design or create your own plugins, to get some of the features of the operating system, right? So there are situations where it is a must you would use a native application. And there are situations whereby you can decide whether to use native or hybrid. But if you are building an MVP and it is not a must for you to use the native features of the operating system, then I highly recommend you start with hybrid. You can always move into native in the future, and in the future when your MVP has proven to be market fit, right? Or proving that it is useful in the market. Okay. Now, a situation whereby I would highly recommend a native app, don't even try and use a hybrid app, is when you want to do something like video processing, or when you want to do something that uses the internal tools of the OS, something like Bluetooth, right? It has to be a native app. It will be very difficult achieving that with a hybrid application. Now, in a situation whereby you're doing like most of the apps in Nigeria, fintech, e-commerce, and logistics, a hybrid app would get the job done. So a hybrid app, you just need to use one code base to launch on Android and iOS, right? In my situation, I use Apache Cordova. I'm very, very good with. I even have my own personal Cordova plugins, right? Um, all I need is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I can package it into an application. Obviously, the server is set up, right? And I can launch it on Android and iOS. To be honest with you, almost all the apps I've done have all been hybrid, except from one which was native for Android, where I used Java to develop. But that's a long time ago. All right. So hybrids in most cases is going to be the best option to start with, especially if you are an MVP, if you are trying to get your MVP up and running. Okay, so these are kind of the ways to actually know um, where to begin. It depends on what you want, but at least one thing you should take away from this audio is that if you are trying to launch an MVP and you strongly know or believe that you do not require the native features of the operating system, either Android or iOS, it's better to set up your mind with starting with hybrid. It is faster, it is cheaper, it is easier to maintain, and the difference in performance, to be very frank with you, is not much. Okay, it is not much at all. It's very, very minute. Um, and it would give you the opportunity to fully test your product in the market. It will save you lots of money instead of spending, let's say, 10 million to develop Android and iOS. You can even cut down your budget to like 3 million to have two applications doing the exact same thing. Okay, so I'm an advocate of building hybrid when native features are not necessary. Now, let's say you want to do something like YouTube. Building it on hybrid is just going to be a waste of money, but it will never really work. You need to set that up as a native application. But anything that has to do with video processing, video management, and all those good stuff, it's always very difficult having it on hybrid because obviously you're connecting to a server, you're not tapping into the real features of the application. Something like WhatsApp now. It would be difficult building something like WhatsApp as a hybrid application. I think you kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to say. But most fintechs, a hybrid is the best way to go. Then in the future, if you now decide to go and do native, it's fine. So this is the difference between going native or going hybrid. So here's my rule of thumb. Go native if you are building something high performance, complex, or with deep hardware integrations. For example, gaming, video processing, Bluetooth devices, right? Now, go hybrid if your app is content-based, transactional, or startup MVP. Things like food ordering, e-commerce, education, directory apps, fintech, music distributions, etc. All right. So always try and make sure you get your developer to also explain this, even though I've explained it here, but at least have an idea of what it is before they actually go in depth to explain it for you. All right. So that's all I have for this video. Thank you very much for listening, and bye bye.